I came home for Christmas, but only my grandpa was there. My dad texted, "We took a trip. Use the money you saved for us." Grandpa looked at me and said calmly, "They'll pay it back sooner than they think." 5 days later. The thing that hit me hardest wasn't that they left without telling me. It was that they flew off to rest, to ski, drink overpriced cocoa and post fake candid photos, while leaving Grandpa completely alone. No call. No note. Just silence. Like he didn't matter. Like he was just furniture. And the worst part? They knew I was coming home. I told them in November. I sent the dates. I even offered to buy the ham this year, remember? Mom said I didn't need to do that my presence was enough. I should have known that meant something was off, but I chalked it up to her usual passive-aggressive sweetness. I landed in Denver on the 23rd. Took the Greyhound from the airport because I didn't want to spend extra on a rental. I figured my brother might pick me up like last year, even if he showed up late and reeked of vape. But no one was at the station. No text. I stood outside in the cold with my duffel bag and a boxed wine I'd brought from the city, staring at the empty parking lot. By the time I got to the house, it was already dark. No Christmas lights on the porch, which was weird. My parents were obsessive about those dumb icicle ones. The driveway was empty. No brother's Jeep. No dad's truck. Just Grandpa's Buick, covered in a soft layer of snow. I knocked once, then let myself in. The air inside smelled like coffee and dust. Not turkey. Not cookies. No laughter, no arguing about ornaments, nothing. Just Grandpa sitting alone in the living room in the same armchair he's had since the 90s. No tree. No stockings. Not even a wreath. He looked at me and gave a small nod, like he'd been expecting me but wasn't sure I'd actually show. I set my bag down and just stared at him. I asked where they were. He pointed at my phone. I pulled it out of my coat pocket and there it was. A single text from Dad. "We took a trip. Use the money you saved for us. Didn't want to ruin your holiday. We'll be back after New Year's. Hope Grandpa's doing okay." They used the money. The savings I'd scraped together all year and transferred into the joint account. Money I thought would help fix the busted plumbing and maybe replace the broken windows in Grandpa's room. They promised they wouldn't touch it. My mom had even cried on the phone once saying how much it meant that I cared. And then they vanished with it. Skipped town. Ditched Grandpa. Ditched me. I didn't respond. I didn't even blink. I just turned to Grandpa and waited. He was still looking at me, not angry, not shocked, just calm. Like he'd already made peace with what they did. Then he said it. Real soft, almost like he was reading the weather. "They'll pay it back sooner than they think." And that was all. No plan. No rage. Just those words. I didn't ask what he meant. I didn't need to. I sat down on the floor beside his chair like I used to when I was a kid, and for a while, neither of us said anything. The house was dead quiet and outside snow was starting to fall again. I hadn't come home for revenge. I came home because I thought that's what family did for each other. But maybe this year things were going to be different. The next morning I found Grandpa in the hallway, sliding a heavy plastic bin toward the master bedroom with that slow, steady energy that always made it hard to tell if he was tired or just focused. He was already dressed, sleeves rolled up, a cup of cold coffee sitting on the dresser. I stood there half awake in my pajama bottoms, watching him open their closet door like he was walking into a storage unit, not a bedroom. "They left me," he said, more like a fact than a complaint. "So I'm leaving them." Then he started folding. Shirts, dresses, ski gear they probably bought just for their trip. He handled everything like he was folding laundry at a laundromat. No sentiment, no hesitation. He wasn't angry. He wasn't sad. It was something else, like he'd made peace with something long ago and now he was just acting on it. At first I stood in the doorway not saying anything. But after a minute I started helping. I took down my mom's fake designer bags from the shelf and zipped them up without even checking the pockets. My brother's shoes went into a box labeled donations. Grandpa smirked when I taped it shut and wrote the label in permanent marker. By noon we had half their bedroom packed. By evening, we'd moved on to the upstairs bathroom, dumping half-used creams and bath bombs into trash bags. Grandpa moved slow, but he didn't stop once. I made us sandwiches and we ate them on the living room floor surrounded by boxes. He didn't say much, just stared at the fireplace that hadn't been lit all season. Then he pulled a folder from under the coffee table and handed it to me. Inside was the original deed to the house. His name. Only his name. I flipped through the pages. The mortgage was paid off years ago. No co-signers. No shared ownership. "It's not their house," he said. "Never was. I let them live here. That's over now." Over the next few days things escalated, but not the way you'd think. It wasn't chaotic. It was quiet. Every morning Grandpa made coffee, wrote a list and crossed things off one by one. Furniture? Listed on Facebook Marketplace. Electronics? pawned or sold to neighbors. Jewelry, appraised and sold to a dealer 2 towns over. That necklace I'd seen Mom wear every Sunday, gone. The sound system Dad bragged about at barbecues, boxed up and driven away by a guy named Rick in a pickup truck. By the 28th, Grandpa had gone into town and shut down the joint account, the same one I'd been depositing money into for home repairs. That was the tipping point. No more money, no more automatic payments, no emergency fund to fall back on when their trip ran longer than expected. He transferred the balance into his personal account and closed everything else out with a smile. He gave me one of the old credit cards and told me to buy whatever we needed for the week. I only bought groceries and a space heater for his room. Everything else felt unnecessary. He didn't even blink when I told him I hadn't bought anyone gifts after all. Said it was the smartest thing I could have done. And honestly, those days didn't feel like punishment. They felt peaceful. Like breathing after holding your breath for years. We ate simple meals, played cards after dinner, watched old war documentaries on his laptop. I hadn't spent that much time with him since I was 9. I had forgotten how sharp he was, how funny in his quiet way. He never badmouthed my parents. He didn't have to. On the morning of New Year's Eve while I was out getting milk, I noticed a missed call from my brother. Then 2 from Mom. 1 from Dad. No voicemails. Just the calls. I didn't answer. By the time I got back, Grandpa had stacked another 3 boxes by the door. Shoes, coats, my dad's golf clubs. I showed him the missed calls and raised an eyebrow. He just said, "They'll get real loud once they realize the account's dry." I didn't ask how he knew. He always knew. New Year's Eve came in cold and slow, the kind of gray morning where the sky just hangs there, like it's holding something back. The snow started around noon, soft at first, then heavier. By evening, the town was quiet. Nobody was out and the roads were disappearing. It felt like the world had decided to pause. Like something was coming. I spent most of the day helping Grandpa finish boxing up the last of their stuff. The hallway closet. The game room my brother insisted we turn into his home office. Even the treadmill my mom never used. We didn't talk much. Just worked, ate sandwiches and listened to the storm build outside. I didn't realize how good silence could feel until there was no one around demanding to be heard. That night, Grandpa lit a fire. He said nothing, just walked into the living room with the lighter in his hand like it was something he'd done 1,000 times. The flames took their time catching, but once they did, the whole room felt warm for the first time all week. I sat down next to him on the rug with a plate of crackers and that bottle of red wine I'd been saving since October. He had a little glass, took 1 sip and nodded like it passed the test. We didn't toast. We didn't count down. We just sat watching the fire and listening to the wind knock against the windows. At 11:47 p.m. my phone buzzed. I let it go. It buzzed again. And again. 15 missed calls. The texts were coming in chunks now, one after another. First Mom. "Hi sweetheart. We're having a little situation here. Could use your help when you get a sec. Love you." Then my brother. "Dude. Grandpa shut down the account. Are you serious? Call me." Then Dad. "What the hell is going on? You two can't just cut us off like this. We'll deal with this when we get back." That was the last one. I showed Grandpa, just tilted the screen toward him. He squinted, then looked back at the fire. "They're not even pretending anymore," he said. "Not even pretending they care about anything but the money." I nodded. He wasn't wrong. The next morning I made pancakes, the sad flat kind because we were low on baking powder, and we ate them off paper towels while the snow outside piled higher. Grandpa had his old radio on, tuned to a station playing jazz from the 60s. Felt like a different world. My phone had 6 more voicemails. One of them finally admitted the truth. "We can't check out," Mom said. The card declined. And then the backup one. "Your father is freaking out. The flight's not booked. Call us as soon as you get this." They couldn't leave the resort. They couldn't pay for another night. They couldn't book the return. Their lifeline, the account I used to feed, was gone, and for the first time they were stranded without someone to bail them out. Grandpa spent the day walking through the house, checking drawers, marking things off a list. He didn't look smug. He looked free. Not joyful. Not vengeful. Just a man finally finished waiting for other people to do right by him. That night, I caught a glimpse of myself in the hallway mirror. Same old coat, hands covered in dust from the attic, circles under my eyes. But I wasn't tired. I felt steady. Ready. On January 2nd they flew back. The text came in before they even landed. "We're coming home. You need to explain this. Have Grandpa ready to talk." I turned off my phone and stood at the window as the snow began to melt in patches on the sidewalk. Grandpa sat beside me at the table sipping tea. He didn't say a word. Around 8 p.m. headlights rolled into the driveway. They were back. They arrived after dark just like I figured they would. I saw their headlights curve into the driveway, stop for a moment, then shut off. I waited by the front window watching them sit in the cold car longer than necessary. Maybe they were rehearsing. Maybe they thought they could just walk back in like nothing happened. Like they hadn't abandoned Grandpa for 10 days without heat, food, or a single call. But this wasn't their house anymore. Not the way they thought it was. The porch light didn't come on when they stepped out. It had been disconnected. I watched them fumble with their suitcases, my mom slipping once on the ice patch near the step. No one helped her up. They all looked different, not just tired. Worn out. Faded. As if the vacation had drained more from them than it gave. The first rattle at the doorknob came soft. Then another. Then my dad said it, too casual for the moment. "Dad? Open up, it's us." Grandpa didn't even look up from his crossword. Just circled a word slowly and calmly. I stayed quiet by the window, arms crossed. Watching. My brother tried the side door next, then the garage. Nothing worked. Grandpa had changed every lock and code 3 days ago. We didn't say anything about it. We just knew they'd try every way in before actually knocking. When the doorbell finally rang, Grandpa stood, walked to the record player and dropped the needle. Old jazz started playing, slow, lazy notes winding through the living room like smoke. Then he sat back down and folded his arms like we had all the time in the world. The doorbell rang again. Louder this time. Then fizz. Then my brother shouting. "You changed the locks? Are you serious?" I walked over and opened the door an inch. There they were. Shivering. Tense. My mom gave a weak smile like she could still steer the mood. My dad looked like he was about to break something. My brother was chewing on his lip, eyes darting past me like he expected to see cops. "You need to let us in," Dad said. "Enough of this. This isn't a game," my brother added. "No," I said. "It's not." My mom stepped forward, her voice soft and artificial. "Sweetheart, please. We've been traveling all day. Let's just talk." "He's not taking sedatives anymore," I said. "You don't get to come back in and start that again." They froze. My dad started to raise his voice, but I closed the door, locked it, then turned and walked back to the living room. Grandpa was still in his chair, calm as ever. "They'll find a hotel," he said. "They'll call lawyers. They'll try to twist this into something it isn't. But it won't work. Not this time." We spent the rest of the night listening to the wind beat against the windows. At one point I checked outside, they were still in the car, engine off, lights out. Around 11 they drove off slowly, tires crunching over ice. The next morning a knock at the back door surprised me. Not them. It was our neighbor, Mrs. Dale, holding a key. One of the spare ones Grandpa had left with her years ago. She handed it to me, confused. "Your brother came by early," she said. "Tried to get it from me. Told me Grandpa asked him to pick it up." She didn't believe him. She made him leave empty-handed. Grandpa just smiled when I told him. "They're used to doors opening for them," he said. "This is the first time they're realizing they don't have the keys anymore." Later that afternoon I found my brother's phone tucked behind a flower pot near the porch. Probably dropped during the chaos. I brought it inside, not planning to snoop, just figured I'd keep it safe. But when I tapped the screen it was still unlocked. And right there on the screen was the banking app. Open to the transaction history. He'd been stealing. Hundreds of small transfers. From the joint account Grandpa let them use. The one I'd been contributing to. All funneled into a crypto wallet. It wasn't even hidden. He didn't think he needed to. I showed Grandpa. He barely reacted. "They never planned to stay," he said. "They were always going to leave. The only surprise is that they came back." And that's when I knew, they hadn't left him behind by accident. They left him because they thought he wouldn't notice. Because they thought he couldn't stop them. They didn't realize he'd been watching them the whole time. They showed up again the next day mid-morning, wearing yesterday's clothes and that same brittle confidence they always carried when they wanted something. This time they didn't bother with pleasantries. No more knocking. Just loud voices from the porch, echoing through the living room like an eviction notice. "You're not locking us out of our own lives," my dad barked. I opened the door but didn't step aside. Mom was behind him, arms crossed, eyes already glassy from either the cold or nerves. My brother stood a little farther back, trying not to make eye contact with me. Grandpa came up beside me, slow and deliberate. Dad pointed at him. "You need to stop this. You've made your point." "No," Grandpa said. "Not yet." "You're sick. You need help." Mom jumped in, voice sharp now. "You're confused. You need to rest." Then she turned to me. "And you've been feeding this. Encouraging it." That's when Grandpa laughed. Quiet, tired but real. "I was confused," he said. "For years. Letting you stay here. Pretending you weren't bleeding me dry. You're acting irrational," my mom said. "This house isn't just yours. It's a family home. You don't get to throw us out of it." Grandpa didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. "It was never yours. You lived here because I let you. And I'm done letting you. Then he handed my dad a yellow envelope. Inside was a typed notice. 30 days. No legal co-ownership. All his. He'd filed the paperwork a week ago. A lawyer we knew from church had helped. Everything was done clean. This is insane, my brother muttered. You're gonna regret this. No, I said. You are. They left without another word. But they weren't done. 2 hours later, a sheriff's deputy knocked on our door. Wellness check. Someone, guess who, had reported Grandpa as mentally unstable, possibly being manipulated. The deputy was polite, even a little embarrassed. He asked Grandpa a few questions, watched him move, speak, joke. He even asked if Grandpa knew the date. Grandpa told him the exact day plus the day his wife died, the day he bought the house, and the day he opened the joint account. Then he handed over the bank statements and the property title. The deputy nodded, apologized, and left. But the call had shaken something loose. Grandpa looked older suddenly. He sat down in his chair and stared at the fire, quiet for a long time. I didn't say anything. I just made him some soup, sat next to him, and let the silence hold us. Later, when I walked into the kitchen, I found a letter he'd written, addressed to me. Just a few lines. If this doesn't settle and they come for me, keep the house. You know how. I didn't cry. I just folded it and put it in my bag. That night they came back one more time. Let themselves in with the other spare key, the one hidden in the fake rock out front. I hadn't thought to remove it. They didn't yell this time. They were quiet, focused. My mom went straight to the medicine cabinet. I watched from the hallway as she found the bottle of sedatives she used to calm Grandpa, the ones that kept him foggy, slow, compliant. She turned, saw me, and froze. We just want to help him, she whispered. I took the bottle from her hand and poured it straight down the sink. No more of that, I said. We're still his family, she snapped. Then act like it. And that was it. The next morning I helped them pack. No screaming, no last-minute guilt trips. Just boxes. Coats. The sound of tape pulling from the roll. My brother wouldn't look at me. My dad didn't say a word. My mom tried one last time. A soft, broken little "Stacy, please." I didn't flinch. They left before lunch. I watched from the porch as they pulled away, the trunk overstuffed, the back bumper sagging. No goodbyes. Inside, Grandpa was quiet. Not triumphant. Just still. They were my kids, he said. And I raised them wrong. I shook my head and sat beside him. You raised me right. And we just sat there, fire crackling, the house quiet again, but this time finally peacefully so. After they left, the house felt strange. Not empty, just clean, like something rotten had finally been scraped out. For a while neither of us spoke. Grandpa sat in his chair, staring out the window like he was waiting for something. I stayed close, tidying up, folding blankets, checking the thermostat even though it didn't need checking. Later that evening, while we were eating leftover soup, he looked up and said quietly, I didn't want it to end like that. I nodded. Not because I agreed, but because I understood. No one wants to believe their own kids are capable of that kind of selfishness. No one wants to admit they handed the keys to people who only ever meant to rob them blind and call it help. They'll be fine, I said. They'll land somewhere. That's what people like them always do. He didn't argue. Over the next few days we got the house back. Not just the space but the feeling. I moved my stuff out of the guest room and into the old sewing room upstairs. We cleaned out the fridge, donated the things my mom left behind. Grandpa called the lawyer and had the locks legally noted just in case. He didn't want surprises. A week later he had a small sign made and nailed it to the front porch beam. Hand-carved. Family doesn't leave. No names. No bitterness. Just truth. And honestly, those days after, they were some of the best I'd had in years. We woke up early, drank strong coffee, read the paper. We made breakfast together. Real ones, not toaster waffles, in silence. I helped him clean out the shed. He taught me how to patch drywall. It was like peeling back years of dust and finding out the house still had bones worth saving. Once, while going through a box of old photos, he handed me a picture of me on his shoulders at a 4th of July parade. I was maybe 5. Grinning. Fireworks in the background. You always came back, he said. I taped the photo to the fridge. He was quieter now, more tired in the afternoons, but not sad. Not broken. Just steady. Sometimes I caught him looking toward the road, like part of him still hoped one of them would drive back. Not to argue. Not to demand anything. Just to say something that mattered. But they didn't. I got a single text from my mom about a week later. We're staying with friends. Just need time. I didn't reply. The thing is, I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel like we'd won. Because this wasn't a win. This was a rescue. And not of Grandpa, of the home. Of what it meant to stay when everyone else walked out. I never told him, but I had made up my mind. I was going to stay. Permanently. The city could wait. The job could go. There were things here worth rebuilding, and I wanted to be the one who helped him do it. One morning as we sat by the fire, Grandpa said, I thought I was going to die here with them arguing over my will. I didn't say anything. Then he smiled and added, but I think I'm going to live here a while longer just to annoy them. I laughed, and for the first time in a long time it felt real. Just the two of us. Like it used to be. Like it was always meant to be. The first update. 3 weeks have passed and I feel more like myself than I have in years. Not the version that kept forgiving, kept explaining, kept pretending things were fine when they weren't. That version's gone. What's left is someone steady, clear-headed, and done with pretending family means unconditional tolerance for being treated like nothing. The house is peaceful now. No stomping down the stairs, no slammed doors, no tension hanging in the air like static. Just me and Grandpa. Coffee at the table in the mornings, fixing things during the day, and quiet evenings where we both read or watch something old and slow. Feels like the house finally exhaled. They've been silent more or less. A few texts, carefully worded, like they were hoping to find the right combination that would undo everything. Just want to talk. Can we start fresh? I miss how things used to be. But nothing about what they did. No apologies. No accountability. They've been cut off completely. Grandpa made sure of it. The lawyer finalized everything. No more access, no more temporary arrangements, no more backdoors into his finances. Even the utilities are in his name alone. The storage unit my brother had? He showed up late and found the lock changed. Word got around town faster than I expected. Not because we told anyone. Grandpa didn't need to. People noticed. And when they asked, he told them the truth in that simple, clear way of his. They left me alone on Christmas. They took money that wasn't theirs. They thought they could walk back in and everything would still be theirs. And people believed him. That's what hit them hardest. The silence. The fact that no one rallied to their side. No one scolded Grandpa or blamed his age. There were no rescue calls, no concerned friends showing up on their behalf. Just nothing. I heard my mom's been staying with a coworker. My dad moved in with some friend from high school who still has a basement. My brother's been couch surfing. They're still together, just scattered. And us. We're good. Not in a movie ending, perfect kind of way. But in the kind of way that matters. There's real peace here now. The work is slow, the house needs repairs, and the winter's been rough. But we laugh more. Sleep better. The silence feels earned. The other night, Grandpa looked at me while we were eating dinner and said, "They'll never understand how good it feels to not need them anymore." And he's right. Because we don't. We've got everything we need.